When I first started teaching, I had a very specific picture in my head of what a good teacher looked like. Her classroom was under control, kids listened when she talked, they followed directions, lessons stayed on schedule, and if children weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing, she knew how to get them back in line. I'm Amy, a former special educator turned homeschool mom, and I help homeschool parents of kids with big behaviors understand what's really driving those behaviors so they can create calmer days and more cooperation at home. This week I've been telling you about the teacher I started out as. And when I look back now, I can see how much of my early teaching was shaped by this belief that children's behavior was evidence of how well I was doing my job. So if my classroom was chaotic, I needed better classroom management. If a child wouldn't listen, I needed to be firmer. If one consequence didn't work, maybe they needed a bigger consequence. And that's a really hard cycle to get out of when you've connected your authority and competence to your ability to make children comply. And I see a version of this show up in homeschooling all the time. You sit down to do school and your child refuses to start, or they complain about every direction, or they completely derail the lesson because they made one mistake. They won't even clean their room, even though you've told them 100 times how to do it. And somewhere in the middle of all that, their behavior starts becoming evidence about you. Why can't I get my own child to listen to me? Why is everything a battle? Maybe I'm being too permissive. If I were doing this right, surely we wouldn't be struggling this much. And once your child's behavior starts feeling like a reflection of your competence, the urge to control it gets really strong. And that's something I had to dismantle in myself as a teacher. I had to stop measuring my effectiveness by how quickly I could get a child to comply, because ultimately, I couldn't control what that child chose to do. Now, what I did learn was that I could influence them, teach them, create structure, hold boundaries, build skills, and make the environment supportive. But if my definition of success required a child to respond exactly the way I wanted, I was measuring myself by something that was not actually within my control. And this matters a lot in parenting too. Because if you solely decide that you're doing a good job based on whether your child complies with what you're doing, then you're handing your child the measuring stick for your own competence. Right? So let's say you set the limit and they scream. So now you think you handled it wrong. Or you try to connect and they're not into it. Or you stay calm and they still melt down. You hold a boundary and they still hate the boundary. None of those responses automatically tell you whether you parented that moment well. And I'll just insert this here right quickly, that when you prioritize the relationship and the connection, then the cooperation naturally follows.